You come back from your 9 to 5, you feel pretty tired, you don't feel motivated, and that's when the thought of skipping the gym is gonna come up. Now we know that training is really healthy for you and has a ton of benefits, especially if you work a desk job, but we still struggle with this, and I've definitely struggled with this quite a few times. So in this video I want to share with you how I've managed to build, I would say, a pretty decent physique as a software engineer while still focusing on my career. And I've been working out consistently for over 10 years, so I want to give you the things that are gonna have the biggest impact. I'm gonna go over 5 categories, and we're gonna start off with consistency. Now, consistency is something that is really crucial. As I've said, I've been working out for quite a long time, and you're just not gonna see results overnight. It actually takes quite a long time to see differences in your physique. The thing is that consistency beats motivation. So how do you go about the problem that I've outlined at the beginning of the video? You actually want to take the decision making out of the equation. You don't want to give your mind time to even think about skipping the gym. And so instead of that, you want to create systems and habits that are going to make it easy to stay consistent. One thing that I've done is I started taking my gym bag with me to the office, and so whenever I'm done with my work, I go straight to the gym. If you're working remotely, which I do now most of the time, another useful thing is to have your gym bag ready. You just want to remove as much friction as possible. Recently, I've also moved to a new apartment, and I've actually taken into account the location so that I'm pretty close to the gym. So that's another thing that will make it a lot easier. Another thing that I really like is the just show up rule. So you're just gonna get there, no pressure around how long you should stay in the gym. And what you'll actually find is that most of the times, even if you were like really tired or unmotivated, you're gonna have a great workout and you're not gonna regret going. I've learned a lot of these things from the book Atomic Habits, so if you want to go deeper into this, I definitely recommend reading that. So now that we went over the consistency, let's actually move on to the actual workout routine. How do you actually get the most out of your workouts? So what works for most people is training 3 to 5 times per week, and if you want to see the most results, it's actually pretty good to train each body part 2 times per week. So that might be actually easier to do with the 5 times per week split. Now, one of my favorite splits that I currently use as well is Monday to Wednesday. I have push-pull legs, which is really popular. Then on Thursday, I have a rest day, and then on Friday and Saturday, I have upper body and lower body, and on Sunday, I have another rest day. So that's 5 times per week. I used to go 6 times per week as well, but what I found out is that I wasn't able to recover properly. Another huge thing is focusing on compound movements, so exercises that target multiple muscle groups. So things like bench press, deadlift, and squat. Those are gonna be really great for increasing your strength as well. And talking about strength, one huge thing is focusing on progressive overload. And so progressive overload is the gradual increase in weight or the reps you do on a given exercise. So each week you're gonna try to, for example, increase the weight on the exercise by, let's say, 2.5 kilos, or you're gonna try to aim for more reps than previously. And this is really key. Looking back, that was when I saw the most results as well. It was whenever I really focused on strength and I was trying to improve every single week in terms of the weight I was lifting. Let's move on to another section, and that is recovery. And this is actually really crucial because that's where the muscles are built. They are not built when you're training, but when you recover. And it was definitely one of the mistakes that I've made in the beginning, and that was I really enjoyed training. I worked out pretty hard, but I didn't give enough attention to recovery and nutrition. But that's where you will see more of the results, honestly, so don't skip this. So the first thing that comes to mind when you say recovery is probably sleep. The thing that really improved my sleep was having a consistent schedule. So one thing that I do is I actually set my alarm at night. I don't set my alarm in the morning. I just want to give my body as much rest as it needs. And if you actually set your alarm at night, it's gonna be a lot easier to have a consistent schedule. And what you'll find is that after some time, you're gonna wake up pretty consistently as well anyway. So I actually usually wake up somewhere after 5 a.m. without an alarm. And this is gonna be really individual, but for me personally, I found out that I really need to get around 8 hours of sleep. So this, as I said, this really depends on how much activity you're doing, how hard the workouts are, and maybe even on your genetics. But yeah, for me, 8 hours. Another thing that's gonna affect your sleep a lot is the light exposure. So in the morning, you actually want to get a lot of light. So ideally, you would just walk outside for a bit, but you can actually fake this a little bit by turning on a lot of bright lights in your apartment or in the office, for example. And at night, you want to do the opposite, actually. So at night, I usually turn off most of the lights, turn down the brightness, and for the screens, I also turn down the brightness, and I do use something that's called a night shift. Now that's something that's available on macOS and an iPhone, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna actually turn down the blue light on the screen. I also recommend turning on the focus mode where you're not gonna get notifications. I would say that like the worst thing that you can do is before you go to bed, you have your phone right in front of your face and you're watching something in the dark. Whenever I do that, I absolutely notice the sleep quality just plummet. Now, to recover properly from your trainings, we also need to touch on nutrition. So this is gonna be pretty simple. What you wanna do is eat a high protein diet. What's usually recommended is somewhere around 1 gram per pound of body weight, so I would just stick to that. And in terms of the food itself, you wanna eat whole food that's nutrient dense and that's high in protein. So things like meat, eggs, dairy, fruit and vegetables. And if you just follow these 2 simple rules, you're most likely gonna be alright. One hack that I use pretty often as well is you don't want to bring the bad food into your house. It's much easier to resist the temptation when you're shopping for groceries than it is to resisting not eating the food when you're at home, especially when you're cutting. You're gonna be hungry, you're gonna have cravings. So resisting that is almost impossible, I would say. And the last thing that I want to touch on is your body weight management. So another big mistake that I've made is whenever I started training, I felt really small. And so I went on a really big bulk and I actually gained a lot of body fat. And I definitely don't recommend this. I would say that for males, staying somewhere between 10 to 15% body fat is gonna be the best. Whenever you're leaner, you're gonna look a lot better. You're most likely gonna have a lot more motivation to actually train, and you're overall probably gonna be a lot healthier. On top of that, your testosterone production is probably gonna be better than if you were overweight. And as we know, that's the key hormone to actually building muscle and staying lean. I really believe that fitness is foundational to having a good life. So if you're someone who's trying to improve your health, fitness, who's into tech, investing, that's exactly what this channel is gonna be about. Expect more content around training, productivity, career growth, and investing. Overall, just like building a better life. I'll be sharing my own journey along the way, and so if this resonates with you, you can find the Discord link down below.